Thank you for making that available to us. That has changed quite a bit since I lived there as a teenager, and so that was fun as well. So we are so glad for you and glad to be a part here today. And I know it's a busy day for many of you. It's a day where a lot of us are trying to squeeze in last-minute summer plans, and so we're just thankful that you're here and we get to spend this time with you. So just, I also want to thank you because you're going to hear a little bit more about the ministry we do through Live Global. And you guys, your church has been a part of this ministry since the very beginning, back 30-some years ago. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we want to thank you for your faithful support over the years of how you have been impacting the nations as you give faithfully to not just our ministry, but the ministry in general that we are a part of and that I help lead. So, Jennifer, why don't you just give a little update about the family, and then we'll jump into more about the ministry.
Okay. So this is the most recent family picture that we have with everyone. The other one we actually had on here was 5 or 6 years ago, and you would not recognize the daughter that we have with us. So, this is from our oldest son's wedding. He and his wife were married last October. He's the first one of our children to be married, and he and his wife are actually expecting our first grandbaby, a little girl, in the beginning of November. So we're excited about that. And they're actually just closing on a house here real soon. They're going to be about 15, 20 minutes from us, so that's nice to have them close by. And then our second son, who's the tallest one over there on the end, he is just moved back into the house. His roommate got married, and he's there for a little bit while he does some training for welding. And then our third son, Noah, who is on the other end with the mustache, he is going to Lancaster Bible College and he's in his third year, but should be finishing up this year. He's actually in Poland right now. Has been on a trip with ABWE for using media and communications and missions. And so that's what he's interested in doing. And then our fourth son, who is standing next to me in the photo, not the one getting married, the other one, he is just graduated from high school and is working at Chick-fil-A. They have a program where they get a full scholarship online with the university down in Georgia. So he'll be doing that and living at home, and then starting high school this year. So we have lots of transition and change and big blessings going on in everybody's lives. So
yeah, sometimes it's hard to keep up with it all. So it's been really neat. And when Jennifer says here, we live now in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Am I saying here? We don't live here. Sorry.
So. Which is near Hershey, the sweetest place on earth. And if you're ever out there, make sure you let us know. We'd love to visit with you and have you over for a meal. But we moved from Michigan to Harrisburg 7 years ago. And as Jennifer just shared, our family has settled and they're doing well. So anyways, so that's a little update about us. I serve as the executive director of Church Partnerships for Live Global, and I serve and lead a growing team of missionaries whose main job is to work with national partners around the world and connect them back to North American churches. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but let's see if we can play this video to help you learn more. Yeah.
From bustling cities to remote villages, committed indigenous leaders who believe in Jesus Christ are advancing the gospel in their own cultures, communities, and beyond. Since Paul's first missionary journey, gospel seeds have been planted by faithful pioneer missionaries all around the globe, leaving a great legacy of faith, with nationals now leading and reproducing gospel ministry. Live Global exists to create mutually edifying relationships between national leaders and their ministries in the North American church.
Nationals start and lead the ministries God calls them to, and the North American church comes alongside to learn, serve, and encourage. As we build bridges of partnership across the globe, we intentionally customize and implement creative plans to equip and enhance national leaders and the North American Church in the Great Commission. We are linking arms with our national partners as they lead the way in multiplying leaders, churches, and mission movements for the glory of God and to continue in this global legacy of faith.
Global missions is changing.
You have a role.
Get started today at liveglobal.org.
All right. So Live Global, the ministry division that I serve, is part of a broader org, ABWE, and I'm sure you have other ABWE missionaries that you support. So ABWE has about 1,000 missionaries in 90 countries, and Live Global is a part of that. But our main focus is working with national partners in North American churches. And so you're going to learn a little bit more about this. So as I said, about 35 years ago, our ministry got started when an ABWE missionary, George and Deb Collins, was working. They were working in Bangladesh, and George had this passion. He wanted to reach this particular area of Bangladesh, but the government would not allow him to go there as a North American. So the only way for him to do gospel church planting ministry in that region was to work with the local believers there in Bangladesh and mobilize them, equip them and mobilize them and send them into this region. And so he did that, and within a period of a couple of years, 60 churches were started in that region, and not a single North American started those churches. It was all the local leaders. Same time, in Burma, which is now known as Myanmar, George was invited to go over there, and he thought he was being asked to speak at a church service. So he went over there. He was expecting to meet with one congregation of believers there. What happened is when he arrived, he stepped into the square where this church was located, and this square was filled with Burmese believers. And all along the edge of the square, there were tables set up, and there were couples of Burmese believers at the tables asking for prayer. One couple was asking, pray for us, because God has called us to go to this university in this part of Burma. And another couple at another table was asking pray for us because we want to go to this hill tract area of Burma and plant churches there. And on, all around the circle, there are all these Burmese people being mobilized to plant churches and start ministry in their country and beyond. And as George saw what was happening there in Bangladesh and what was happening in Burma, he realized something is changing in missions. Something new is happening. There are all these believers that know the language, know the culture. They have relationships already established because they were born there. And they have access. They can get places that we can't go. And so George said, we need to start a new ministry focused on working with nationals. He realized that we needed to implement a partnership model. And not only within restricted access countries where we can't go, but also places that we can go, and start working with the national leaders that were already there on the ground and connect them back to North American churches and see a work start. So that's how the ministry of Live Global got started. And as I said, you guys were on the ground helping us 30-some years ago as one of the first churches that started supporting this kind of work.
Yeah, Matt was saying, like, what George was seeing was that after all of these generations of faithful pioneer missionaries, God had produced fruit, and that there were national believers in these areas already doing ministry. And they have access that you and I can't have in certain places. And because they're part of that culture and community, they have relationships established. And obviously they have an understanding of the language and the culture that it would take an outsider decades to master. And even then, they still wouldn't be in the same place, relationship and influence-wise, as the national believers. But with as much as they bring to the table, lots of times they're lacking in training and resources that they need to be most effective in ministry. And in fact, about 85% of pastors around the world actually don't have any formal training. Some of our partners that we've come in contact with don't have Bibles even. And so this is where this partnership between the North American Church and those national ministry leaders becomes so valuable, because when we partner together and we both bring our experience and our resources and the skills and different things that each one of us have, we can be so much more effective together to advance the gospel.
Yeah. So we often talk about Live Global and what we do. We try to describe it in various ways. We often say we build bridges of partnership. We like to stand in the gap. In fact, that is the name that you may be most familiar with. For years, you supported the Gap Ministry, and then 7 years ago, we changed our name to Live Global. But the idea of standing in the gap and helping connect North American churches to these leaders, and so that is what we do. We tell those who join our team. We have about 120 missionaries on our team. When they come in to join us, you guys are the bridge. You are the link that connects the church. We often like to use this analogy as well, the platform analogy. So I'm going to have a little quiz for you today, okay? So what does Facebook, Airbnb, Uber, and YouTube have in common? What do Facebook, Airbnb, Uber, and YouTube have in common? Internet. They're internet-based. Good. Information. A lot of information there. Anyone else? Pardon me?
Contact. Being able to contact.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, so let me ask you another question. Good answers. How many cars does Uber own? None. How many apartments, houses do Airbnb own? None. YouTube, this may have changed, but how many videos does YouTube own? None. The value of those companies is in how they connect, how they serve as a platform that their main job is we want to connect the person who needs a car with a person who has a car, or a person who needs a place to stay with a person who has a place to stay. And so their value, they're worth millions, aren't they? Their value is in how they connect, how they serve as a platform. And that's what Live Global wants to do, is we want to be that platform that connects North American churches to what God is doing around the world. Good. This is another way that you can picture what we do. Is we serve both national partners and the North American church. And that's what I really love about my ministry. Before we joined Live Global, I was a pastor near Lansing and pastored there 11 years. And I love pastoral ministry. But at the same time, before then, my wife and I were a part of, and you were a part of this ministry as well. We were missionaries, church planting missionaries in Madrid, Spain. And I feel like now in this job, I get the best of both worlds. I'm able to be a part of what God's doing here in the North American church and help work with churches and connect them. And I get to work around the world with these wonderful church planters and ministry leaders that God has raised up. So this is how we serve our national partners. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So we serve our national partners through encouraging, enhancing, and equipping. It's kind of a way to think about it. So the main thing that we want to communicate is that our relationship with our partners, our national ministry partners, are relationships. They're not transactions. They're actual people that our global missionaries get to know and spend time with on the field and interact with. And we want to be an encouragement to them, not just provide some resource for them, but actually have a ministry of encouragement. So we're concerned about their where they're at with their walk with the Lord, and how can we come alongside of them as a friend. And then we want to enhance their ministry by being an advocate for them with churches here in North America, by sharing their ministry with North American churches in ways that they can't do because they're too far removed. But we can represent them and advocate for them. And then also we want to equip them, as we kind of mentioned before, to give them training and maybe resources for a seminary, so they have Bibles and theological books, or equip them for how to do children's ministry, which we're going to talk about a little bit later too, to maybe train people in their church so that they can do VBS programs and know how to best reach children in their communities. So all of these kinds of things where we want to come alongside and encourage and enhance and equip our national partners.
And at the same time, we're encouraging and helping the North American church. We're helping assist them with their mission strategy, helping them to think through what does it look like to have a healthy missions presence around the world. We're helping facilitate their ministry partnerships. We're trying to connect them to partners that we feel would connect well with their church and their church members. And we're trying to help the whole church get involved in these ministry partnerships. So it's not just the pastor or the missions committee, it's everyone being involved in that ministry partnership. And so we want to connect the North American church. Today, we have the privilege of, as I mentioned, serving about 150 national partners in about 50 countries around the world. And we serve about 400 churches like First Baptist of North Branch, helping them connect and helping them to be involved and just mobilizing their members for the Great Commission. So we're going to have some time for questions, but before we do, we want to tell you a few partner stories and introduce you to some of these partners that we've been talking about. And first one is from not too far away, the island of Cuba.
So this is Rode, and she's one of our partners in Cuba. And a little background in Cuba is that the government limits the size of churches that they can have, the number of people that can meet together. And so what they do is they just, whenever they start to get too big, they just split off and start meeting in another group. So there are a lot of churches around Cuba, and Rode has a heart for children's ministry and training the leaders in all of these little churches, because most of them don't have any training. And so she wants to go and teach them how to do children's ministry. And so every summer in particular, there's a big push with VBS. And so last summer, over 2,000, you can see the numbers up on the screen, that over 2,000 Cubans were trained and then got involved in VBS ministry in Cuba through Rode's ministry in teaching and training them. And so as a result, more than 600 of those small churches all around Cuba were able to host VBS programs to minister to their own children and then also to reach out into the communities. And because of that, over 49,000 kids around the island of Cuba got to hear the gospel and receive Bible teaching through this ministry this last summer. We don't have numbers yet for this summer, but this was last year in 2025.
I don't know about you, but I like numbers like this. This is about multiplication, right? This is one person starting to work with church leaders from each church, and as a result, God was able to use those efforts to see 49,000 children hear the gospel in one summer. This next story comes a little farther away, quite farther away, from India, and I want you to hear from Georgie, our partner himself.
Lord, the public opportunity is great. India is a big country, 1.4 billion people. I think population-wise, India stands first, and the need is so great. Only 2 or 3% of the population are believers or have heard the gospel. So we need to preach the gospel. I'm Georgie Verghese, and I serve as the Executive Director at London Bible College at Takara Bible College. India is becoming harder to reach with the gospel because of the present political situation. It's becoming more and more difficult. Persecution of different kinds. You don't have the freedom that you should have as an Indian citizen because of the Christian and because you want to exercise your faith. The challenge is many of them are who into ministry are not qualified to go for a bachelor's or master's program, and therefore the grassroots level training is very important, and that's what we are trying to do as we train these pastors and missionaries and evangelists from the villages.
It is important, those who are in the ministry, especially the pastors, those who having long time training, theologically, PhD or masters, but they need to know the deeper meaning of theology.
When we give this training for church planters, they are able to not only plant the church, but they are also able to take care of the churches that they planted.
I went back and I shared these things to my friends who needs, I think it's need for them. And then I shared our training.
I taught 2 times down in Trivandrum, and then one time here in Calcutta. And it's been a blessing each and every time to see these men excited about serving the Lord Jesus Christ. These men are already doing pastoral work. They're already preaching every week, but they do not have any formal training or very little formal training. And so it's just a real blessing to come alongside and to teach and to share with them how the Lord has blessed and used you over the years.
Only 2 or 3% of the population are believers or have heard the gospel. When you train 30 people, you are sending 30 people to 30 different directions to do what one person otherwise would do. Apostle Paul said, I want to go so that we will mutually edify. So he was wanting to bless the people in Rome. He also wanted to be blessed. When disciples wanted to gather the fish, it was difficult for them, and they called the others to come and help. And so we need help. Here in India, we need help. So we are calling our brothers who are able to help us to come and draw the net along with us so that we can have more souls and in the kingdom and more churches planted.
The gospel is advancing in India. Churches are being planted. Believers are standing firm. Leaders are answering God's call despite increasing pressure and persecution. But they cannot do it alone. Today, we're inviting you to partner in 2 specific ways. First, if you are a pastor, Bible teacher, professor, or ministry leader with theological training, consider using your gifts to help equip the next generation of church leaders in India through our Bible Institute. Second, help make biblical training accessible to future church leaders. A gift of $650 sponsors 1 student, or perhaps your church can help underwrite an entire 8-week training session. The question is not whether God is working in India. He is. The question is whether we will join him. Help equip the leaders God is raising up in India.
So I hope you can see how, through that video, how God is working through this partner, Live Global partner, Georgie. He mentions how this training that we're doing, his desire is to train 30 guys a year. And so we bring these guys in for 8 weeks at a time. And so they come 8 weeks straight, and we bring North American pastors in, and they teach a week at a time. And so this video is made as a call out at the GRBC this summer to the pastors. Hey, pastors, why don't you consider going and teaching, and then asking for help with funding for these Bible institutes. And so, again, you can see there's the national partner, how we're serving alongside him, and then you can see the call. to the North American church. Send your pastors. Send your leaders to go and do training. And that's how we're trying to connect, okay? One of the pastors that we were recently able to connect, and he went over and did a week's worth of training, said this: training grassroots Christian workers in India was some of the most valuable time I have ever spent in ministry. Our ability to impact the kingdom through our own ministry is so limited compared to investing in others who will be able to teach others also. Their zeal and commitment to the Lord, not to mention their access to places most Westerners would not be able to go, gives me great excitement about the potential fruit that the Lord will produce through the brothers and sisters we work with. So that is a pastor from South Church in Lansing. So there's another way that we're trying to connect, trying to serve our partners by recruiting pastors and leaders to go teach. Okay, and then this is the final partner that I want you to meet. And I think we have a video here. You know what? Do you guys have to click on this video? It doesn't look like it's connected, does it? Nothing's popping up? Okay, I'll just tell you the story. So this is our partner Alvaro and his family in Nicaragua. And I've been on the ground with Alvaro and spent time with his family, and just amazing ministry, working outside the capital city and the countryside. And Alvaro told us, hey, the biggest thing you could do to help me is get some sports teams on the ground. And I want to have a soccer camp, and then I want to have a baseball camp this summer. And so we were able to get a church from Tennessee who sent a bunch of men from their church, fathers and sons, who went over and did a week-long baseball camp out in the countryside in Nicaragua. It was amazing. They had people showing up from all over to come, and each day people were hearing the gospel. And the church that went said this was amazing. Our husbands, or our fathers and our sons had such a wonderful time working together, using sports as a means for sharing the gospel. And so Alvaro, in the video that I was going to show you, says this at the end. He says, if you have a talent God gave you, just come, and we will figure out a way to connect your talent with the door that we need open in Nicaragua. I share that because, again, this is how we're trying to connect. We're trying to take your gifts, your skills that God has given you. Nathan, you're an accountant, right? We need help in that area. We have people that are running businesses that have no idea how to keep track of their numbers and their profit loss statements. We have needs for guys that want to do sports, construction, Bible training, education. The list just goes on and on. If God's given you some type of skill or gift, we can use that when we connect arms with our national partners around the world. Jen, is there anything else that you want to add? Okay. So, I would imagine you have some questions for us. And so you want to just open that up, open the rest of the time up for questions, and we'll try to answer them.
Well, that was what you just mentioned about pastors and teachers and people that are interested in doing some type of training program. That was my question.
Yeah.
Was who is going over and who is spending the time there with these people? And it sounds like it's very cultural oriented. I mean, it's going to be different for different areas that you're going. I mean, it's very diverse. Cuba and
India,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not something that a lot of people would have the talent to do.
Yeah.
Like it sounds very specific.
Yeah, so that's where we come in as Live Global missionaries. We help you. We're kind of like your cultural interpreters. And we guide you along the process. And we help your church, we help your members as they get involved to understand the culture, know how they could enter that culture and use their gifts. And also the partners that we're connecting you to with, they're also there to help you and to help you. They're going to be able to help facilitate relationships and ministry opportunities as well. So does that help a little bit?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Good. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
What are some of the more restricted countries that are like
Yeah.
that you're working with or that you hope to work with?
Right. Yeah, that's good. So we have a lot of ministry going on in Nepal right now, and that's a very difficult environment. We have to be very careful. Our partners there's anti-conversion laws, so our partners are always having to be very careful, especially when we come in, to make sure that we're doing our ministry alongside them in a careful, wise way. So Nepal is a big area for us, and some neat stuff going on in Nepal. We have a Bible training center in Nepal. A lot of churches, actually the church that we're members of in Harrisburg sends a team every year to go teach at the Bible Institute. But then after the week of training at the Bible Institute, those students in our church, they take a hike through the Himalayas. And our partner there has certain villages along the way that he's been planting churches in. And so our team and those students get to go along the way, and they'll stop every afternoon at a new village and they do ministry there at the church. And the students get to teach, and the American team gets to teach, and then the next day they move on to the next. It's really cool. Anyways, that's Nepal. North Africa is an area that we're expanding partnerships in. In fact, this past year, our team was able to celebrate alongside our partners the translation of the Moroccan Bible in one of the dialects. I think it's the Berber dialect or something like that. And so we are right now actively trying to find a way, because it's hard to get Bibles in Morocco. And so whenever we send a church team in or missionaries in, we have them go to southern Spain, load up their suitcase with Bibles, and then they go across the strait there and bring Bibles into our partners there. And our partners, we have 3 or 4 different partners planting churches throughout that region. North Africa, Nepal. Oh, yes. Egypt is another area. Actually, I'll be in Egypt at the end of the month, first part of September, and we have about 7 partners that are working throughout Egypt, Sudan, Syria, Jordan, and so that's a big area where we have a lot of ministry going on with partners. And I'll be there with the church from South Carolina who are going in to work with our partners there. I'll give you an example of what that's going to look like. Basically, we're calling it a desert training camp. And our partners that are in that region are sending their 18 to 22-year-olds who have just trusted Christ, sending them to a training camp, kind of like the Apostle Paul had to go off to the desert to train. They're sending them to a training camp, and it'll be about 100 Arabic-speaking young people there for a week of training. And this year's theme is spiritual discipline. So we're going to be teaching on prayer, fasting, Bible study, and whatnot for a week. And so there'll be about 100 18 to 22-year-olds there. And the church that's going with me are helping teach those sessions.
So they're away from the office.
Yeah. The reason why we send them to camp is that helps get them away from the opposition of their family and their neighbors that don't want them to be Christians. So.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. Good question. Anyone else?
What are the language barriers as you travel from country to country?
Yeah.
Egypt,
Yeah.
India,
Yeah.
places like that.
Yeah, that's good. So one of the reasons why I tend to find myself in Cuba, Nicaragua, any Latin American countries is because of the Spanish background that I have from being in Spain, because that makes it so much better. But oftentimes I'm in places that I cannot communicate with the average person on the street. But our partners, because we've spent years developing a relationship with them, Oftentimes, I would say 9 times out of 10, our partners can speak English. And so we're able to communicate with them back and forth. And that helps enrich the partnership. That helps us go deeper in the partnership. And so our partner will be our translator for the week, or he'll have people in his church that he's also trained to speak English, and we're able to get along that way. So.
We do have a partner in the Dominican Republic who's a pastor who does not speak English, but his son-in-law does. So
yeah.
there's a connection.
Yeah. Yeah. But that does affect the partnership when you're not able to communicate. Yeah.
If our church was just, for instance, creating the mission trip team to go do work somewhere, who would train us? I mean, you're a long ways away.
We would help, and if we can't do it, Jennifer and I, we have people here in Michigan that could. Mark Sturkin would be one guy that we would probably say, hey, would you help First Baptist? Actually, one of the reasons why I'm here is I'm meeting with 7 of our teammates in Michigan this next week, and all of those people would drop everything to help First Baptist take a trip.
Okay.
Yep.
But
If Jen and I,
you would take us on the trip.
I would love to do that.
Okay.
And if I can't, for some reason, someone else on our team will.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a lot of Islamic opposition to what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was mentioning, our partners in the North Africa face that every day, and they have to be careful. We actually, when we're going to Cairo next month, we've found this retreat center out in the middle of nowhere, away from the city, going to be using that just to be safe, secure. We have to be careful with our communications. When I go into the airport, I have to make sure I don't say certain things, use certain terminology. So yes, and Hindu. I would say the other one, especially for our partners in India, we have a lot of partners in India. They face a lot with the Hindu extremists, and churches. Some of our partners have reported churches being, like this video that I showed you from our partner Georgie in India. We have to be careful where we show that. Great question. Well, good. We'll be around between service and after service, and thank you so much again for letting us be here and for your partnership with us. It truly means the world to us to know that the church that I was a part of as a teenager is still standing with us, even as an old man now. So thank you for being a part, and it's good to see you. And is there anything else, Josh?
No.
Okay.
You can close the prayer.
Okay. Father, we just thank you for this time. We thank you for the work that you're doing here. And Lord, I do pray that as we had prayer requests earlier this morning, and just the need for encouragement to your people, I pray that in some way, as your people here hear reports of what you're doing around the world, that they would be encouraged, that they would be filled with hope, that there would even be a sense of peace, knowing that you are fulfilling your promise. You are building your church, and the gates of hell will not stop it. Lord, I pray that you continue to use this church and to be a witness of the gospel here, but also around the world, and that you would continue to grow their ability to partner with their ministry partners serving around the world, and even new partners in the years ahead, of these national workers that are doing incredible ministry around the globe. And we would give you all the praise and glory for it.